Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons Insurance, where you can be a member of the Shannons Club. Pace Farm, the enjoyable egg. Hare and Forbes Machinery House. And Gun Lake Quarries.
Slipping out of New South Wales now and into the ACT. On today's show, we're going to see three separate enthusiasts, an episode not to be missed in this week's Classic Restos on the road. Legends. They deserve recognition. You're about to see one guy that started a horsepower party decades ago, and it's still going today. One man, with the help of some incredible supporters, turned the key and featured some of the most amazing cars in Australia. It sucked the people through the gate, like a 4-barrel carby inducting the mix. This man was Chic Henry.
The Summernats came about after I'd been involved with the national organisation called the Australian Street Machine Federation, and I saw a much more commercial view of the world than some of those people did. And so in 1987 had some conversation with a lot of sponsors, especially Street Machine magazine, and so in 1988 we had the first Summernats. And a lot of people know is that on January 1, it was the first bicentennial endorsed event in Australia, which was pretty cool. But anyway, off we go, and the first event was, pretty well a success, all things considered. I think we got something like about 58,000 people came to the event over the 4 days. And as I'm sitting here, it's the terrible thing about getting old. I can't remember exactly how many entrants we had. I think we had nearly 500 entrants, which was pretty good. But the most important thing about it is that the cars that came were very, very cool cars. And we had a lot of sponsors and a lot of people, through the power of Street Machine, of course, came to what they believed was going to be a very special event. The big deal about the Summernats is that it's many things that you can do with your car. It's not just a static show like many of the indoor shows, not like just a cruise on Sunday or the weekend show and shine. It had many elements, and so, I had rock and roll bands and I had exhibitors and special features, special people over the many years to make it an attractive event for so many reasons, so that the people with their cars, all sorts of different events they could go in, they got the recognition to be the best of this and that, horsepower heroes, airbrush art, burnouts, etc., but the people got good value for money. And because I was able to create those changes each year, that was the longevity of the event as far as I was concerned. Over many years, people would ask me, what was the outstanding feature, what was the great cars, and there were so many different things. But the biggest feature to me was the way what the people felt about the Summernats. It was like a big reunion. It was like the coming together of many tribes, and to see the satisfaction that people got from so many different elements. That's where my greatest satisfaction came from, because I can't tell you what I recall as the best car that I ever saw. I can tell you about the craziest person that I ever had there. I can tell you about the dangers and many things over the years. But when it really comes down to it, when somebody comes up to me and says, "This is the best time I've ever had in my life. I can't wait to get for the next year to go by so I can come back again." And to see all those people come in, it was like a big family reunion. And it was, the burnout people couldn't care less about the elite, and the elite couldn't care less about the Dyno Cell, and the Dyno Cell couldn't care less about the street awards or anything like that. But such was the tribal aspect of it all, that these people hung out together, and unbelievable satisfaction. And then add to that what it meant to the city and the money it brought into the city. The event couldn't have stayed as successful as it was year after year without key people helping me. And in fact, who would have thought that one of the announcers that I had there working for several years was a fella named Fletch. Now here's this man who now putting this program together, and what a life we've had, and the professionalism that Fletch has shown over the years is a testament to this great event that has brought so much forward.
How you going, Chic?
Having a wonderful time, but I am unaccustomed to public speaking.
You haven't done much of it, have you?
No, not really. And I'm not bad for a chat here and there.
You still enjoy the Chev. It's just so good to see.
Mate, I do. I love this car, you know, and at the moment it's going so well. You know, the motor's running fine. The gearbox was rebuilt not so long back. I redid the brakes and some of the suspension bits on it. And, no, it's good, and it's good. You know, I love to give it a run, and I love to give it a footfall when I can.
Some things just never change, do they?
No.
Last time I interviewed you, Chic, would have been about 10 years ago, and that's when we learnt this car had the bronze sintered brakes and the powder-coated frame underneath, and you've put a lot of effort into this car.
Yeah, well, this car originally came into Australia as a twin 409 4-speed, you know, with a positive traction rear end and those sintered bronze brakes, and yeah, it was a high-performance car, and I remembered seeing it racing at Surfers Paradise Raceway, never knowing that I was going to one day own it, you know. I mean, and back in those days when I saw it, that was sort of late 60s, you know, they were a pretty tough car in their day.
And, Chic, it's a hell of a brake booster system you got going on there.
Mate, it is. The power of that brake, that system runs from the power steering box, and it does away with having a power booster. And I mean, if I really stab the brakes, this car will stand on its nose.
They're all attributes too to doing things to our classic cars and making them safer.
Yeah, that's it too. I mean, like I put disc brakes on the front of this years ago. They were HQ discs, and that was what it was all about. And I was actually, when I was messing about with the rear end, and I was thinking maybe I should put disc brakes on it, but one of the slight complications is that the diff in this has got the big bearing, axle bearing, and it makes it harder to buy the disc brake kits. I can in America, of course, but not in Australia. But then when I really looked into it, and I'm thinking, well, really, having a drum brakes on there, and I mean, that's what they were for years. I got fully adjustable, and the car brakes really well, and I mean, I'm not ripping and tearing around the joint like I used to.
Going fast is one thing, but you've got to stop fast as well, right?
Yeah, that's the one too. You know, when you hit the panic stop, and let me tell you that braking system that's on there, that the power assistant aspect, it'll pull this car up something fierce.
Chic, I'd like to take this opportunity from 2005, 2009, the last 5 years that you had the Summernats there. I had an absolute pleasure. You approached me to present on the Brute Horsepower DVDs for that time, and I want to thank you for that. It was the tail end of some fantastic days, and mate, thanks once again for that opportunity to be a part of the Summernats and working with a fantastic team back then. I'd also like to take the opportunity too, on behalf of countless thousands of people watching this episode now, to thank you. As a dead set legend that you are, you've been nothing but inspiration for countless thousands of enthusiasts to make them want to go and get a car, make them attend the Summernats, be a part of that horsepower party, and you've done nothing but drive that enthusiasm in an environment that I believe will never be quite repeated again in this country.
You know, I'm so pleased that I've been able to bring so much to the scene for so many years, and I've done it because I'm an enthusiast myself, and it's been great to be able to work with cool people that have not just work for me but work with me, which is fantastic, and you're that sort of person. I saw something in you that brought another element. We had certain announcers doing certain things, and the part that you played in the event, and it all added to what was an amazingly successful event, which is very cool. And and I'm pleased that out of all of that, I've been able to have friendships that have gone on for a long time too, and I thank you for that.
That's right. It's fantastic to be having an opportunity with somebody like a lot of us that we're driven by passion. Of course, we've got to be in business to survive as well, but forget that for a moment. It's about the passion where we do what we believe in, and that's what this man next to me here has always stood for. So on that note, Chic Henry, thanks so much for your time inviting us to your private home here in Canberra this afternoon. It's been fantastic having you on this, what I class a very special episode, Chic.
Good on you, Fletch. No, thank you for coming, mate. It's been a great deal of joy to be able to have a rave about stuff that we do, and given the 62 a run around the block too, which I don't mind.
Yeah, we've got to keep that carbon cleaned out, mate.
That's the one, mate.
Thank you very much, Chic. Now stick around, because after the break we'll be back with a bloke here in Canberra, and he's got some American cars to show us as well.
My life is hot rods, designing them, building them, and racing them. If you're into rods or customs, you'll know what I mean. It's all about passion, purity, and soul.
Customs and hot rods like the SoCal Roadster is what we do.
And insurance for cars like ours is what Shannons do.
Rods, customs, and even your daily drive. Call Shannons on 134646.
Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
Like us.
Heron Forbes Machinery House has been family owned and operated for over 85 years, and it's easy to see why. Planning on welding? Look at these welding tables and clamps, air compressors and different air tools, sandblasting cabinets, through to spray guns. Everyone is welcome at Machinery House. There are competitive freight rates around Australia, and you can buy online at machineryhouse.com.au. So remember, Hare & Forbes has the range. Welcome back. Chic Henry, what a legend. And it was an honour to catch up with him again and have him as a special guest on the show. Well, today it's Queen Bian, and it's time for a guy named Bill, and he loves his Lincolns. This poor guy needs a 5-acre property with what he has, but no, a non-pretentious lifestyle on a domestic house block. Thousands of classic Ford parts are shoehorned into his backyard sheds. Smear them all with Vaseline, squeeze them in. Semi-retired Bill and his Lincolns, he shares his passion for these full-size American cars. Now it's time for Bill on today's show with his 1973 Lincoln Continental Town Car. It's a left-hand drive car, it's never been restored. Beautiful car, great example. How long have you had it for, Bill?
I bought it from Queensland. I think I have about 6 years now, this car. Yeah.
And you've always liked the cars a long way back.
A long way back. I like all the classic cars, particular American one, and I like the Lincolns. Yeah. I'm from Polish background, you know, and we don't have that car over there. Here is. I'm very lucky to own it, you know.
You didn't mess around. We're talking sheet metal here, pretty well at 6 metres in length. You've got
Yeah, easy. Yeah, very easy, 6 meter. And it's like they call it lounge room on the wheels. Yeah, lounge room on the wheels. Beautiful. I love to drive for him in the highway and freeway. Yeah.
Well, this is what they're designed for, to go from one side of the United States to the other in extreme comfort. Really, when you look at the cars that were built around the world, nothing rode nicer than these types of cars.
That's right. And you say United States, I can go from the East Coast over to the West Coast of Australia on the Nullarbor with this one. And I wouldn't get tired because it's so comfortable, this car.
The luxurious appointments and the way that they finish these cars, they're just beautiful, Bill.
Look, the way I see it, these cars...
The way you see it.
The way I see it, these cars are like sculpture, metal sculpture on the wheels. You know? Beautiful. You never come back this one. They'll never make cars like this again. That's why I love it even more now than when I first bought it.
It's a time capsule, right?
Absolutely, this one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. This particular car, what can you tell us about the history of it, where it's from and what life it's had prior to you?
White one. This car is very special because it come from Japan. Yeah. The Japanese consulate, I understand, they ordered brand new from US back in 1973 and it goes straight to Japan.
Run us through some of the features that this car has for 1973, Bill.
Okay, the standard for this car, the engine is 460 V8. It's got electric seat, electric windows, air condition, cruise control and adjustable steering column. Like what I mean, you pull the indicator stalk and you put the steering wheel up or down if you're taller or shorter. And 1973, I think that's really nice to have those features, you know? Yeah. And it's got lounge room on the front seats like lounge, yeah.
Bill, thank you very much. It's been wonderful. I do appreciate your time. And obviously being in the Canberra area and having caught up with Chic, it was good to go a few Ks away from the ACT and catch up with you here with just one of your cars from your collection.
Well, thank you, Fletch, very much for interviewing me. I really appreciate it. And I love your show, Classic Restos. It's a really good show, good program. For anybody that loves these cars, is really good to watch it. And I'm very privileged that you come and arrange to interview me with my car. And I want to support you. I love it. It's really, you're a good man. I would like to share my feelings and what that Lincoln behind me, my 73 Lincoln Town Car means to me. It's close to my heart, that car. I do appreciate it and respect it. I think it's a lot of automobile and it's from a grand era. Anybody that wants to preserve these cars, I support that, and they should do it because they're really something special, whatever make or model the American car it is. But the Lincoln Continental in particular is very close to my heart, you know, and I've always loved them ever since I was a child. There's something about them, and I used to see the American programs and movies on television. Growing up in the ACT in Canberra, a lot of the embassies had left-hand drive American cars, and that rubbed off on me too, I'm sure, in that certain level. And they were just grand rolling sculptures in their day, and they still got that charm, and they've got a personality, these cars, that will never be lost. And so I am very happy to share this with you about this car. It really means a lot to me. And I am so fortunate that Fletch has invited me to do a segment of Classic Restos regarding my car. That's really close to my heart. I'm very honoured, and thank you very much.
When I was a kid, I loved cars.
I've been a motoring enthusiast all my life.
My life is hot rods, designing them, building them, and racing.
Hand-built with a stainless steel roof.
I've won the Monte Carlo Rally 4 times. Like Dad, I've always been a Ford man.
In '71, this was the fastest 4-door car in the world.
Insurance? Shannons, of course.
If you have a classic or two, make sure they're insured with Shannons. Why not pick up the phone and give Shannons a call for a quote and a chat on 134646. And the Shannons Club, Australia's largest automotive online hub, awaits you with their own in-house productions. Shannons Club TV, Legends of Motorsport, Driven, End of an Era, and of course Classic Restos can be found there as well. For more information, visit shannons.com.au. Time now for an amazing 1969 Mercury Marquis made of Bills. How you doing, Luke?
Very well, Fletch. How are you?
Great, mate. Thanks for coming along.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for an invite.
That is okay. Beautiful location here, just outside of, in Queanbeyan. With these types of cars, obviously American cars, and the greenery here, the section where we're filming, it's almost like as though we could be in part of Pennsylvania somewhere.
That's right. I agree, in the northeast somewhere.
It just goes hand in hand with these vehicles. These vehicles are incredible. They really are. I love the way they're designed. I love the amount of effort in the design department that went into these cars. Their appointments, how many features they came with back in the time. Of course, a long wheelbase car, the comfort that you get, and of course that smooth power. In this case here, we've got 429 up front.
429 car, yeah. 2-barrel. and it's about 330 brake horsepower.
And a whole stack of torque.
Yeah, lots of torque. It's a very easy car to drive on the highway, and it's a 2-barrel car that makes it very fuel efficient as well.
Luke, you look around this car, I love looking at the lines and the style. We can see our own marquee Fairlanes from the mid-70s. A lot of basis, emphasis and styling features very similar across the top of the rear quarter, even around the front of the guards with the trim pieces around the headlights, very Australian Fairlane. You can see where we got a lot of our design from Ford Australia.
Absolutely. You can see, like with the ZH Fairlane, they sort of, you could see they had a focus on a Mercury Monterey, like the lesser model of these that don't have concealed headlights, and the script that they took off the marquees. But you can see that like the Australian ZH Fairlanes from like 76 to early 1979, like a very small version of one of these.
We also look inside too, the interior. I love this interior. We've got the black studded vinyl with a beautiful pattern. We've got the brocade trim as well on the seats. The material, the fabric is beautiful. And then we look at the armrests and we see XWXY, getting back to the Australian design of the door opener there.
That's right. There's a lot of cues that the Australian manufacturers have taken, or obviously been given because it's a Ford product, and it translates into the Australian cars.
And of course, these are cars that worked and were proven in the United States of America, in a country very similar to Australia. They had their hills, they had the very similar weather. They've got their deserts, they've got a lot of heat, and obviously, you know, I think a lot of basis for our Australian designs, the derivatives from the big three, Chrysler, Ford, and GM, coming from the States, making our great cars here in Australia.
I agree. With the Australian cars, Fletch, like the Australian Ford Fairlanes, the Holden Brahms, and the Chrysler by Chryslers or early Chrysler VIPs, they're like a smaller versions of these full-size cars.
It's quite interesting because when we grew up as kids, and you know, the big Val or the big Kingswood or the big Falcon, and in the eyes, well, not in the eyes of the Americans, but on the drawing boards over there, they were the compact cars. They were like a mid-size car. And as you just alluded to, our Statesmans, our Fairlanes, our Chrysler by Chryslers, all our big cars were based on those compact cars. These are the types of cars that you've only got to get in, start and drive 50 feet to realise how luxuriously smooth they are.
I agree. Like this is 4 coil spring, full chassis car. It's very smooth. You know, the handling isn't like a modern motor car, but it's not supposed to be. It's from another era. And you're talking about smoothness, like it's a very comfortable motor car.
Luke, the wheels on this car, I love them on the big car. What are they?
They're Reproduction Magnum 500 wheels. They're a 15-inch size, and they're slightly wider than what they would have been original. They weren't an option on these motor cars, but they were a period Ford product.
The dashboard. I love the lines and the shape of that dashboard. It's the sort of dashboard that makes you feel comfortable. You can just look at that all day. I love that speedo cluster. I love the way that just, symmetrically the numbers are placed. Right through to inside the rear of the car, the back seat, the rear room. Wow.
Yeah, it's quite voluminous. I mean, these are slightly longer than the Galaxy floor pan that they're based on. I think there's a couple of inches in that, so that obviously goes into the back for rear leg room, and I think that was a cue for people to buy the Marquee as a step up from a Galaxy, but if you wanted to go further, you'd buy a Lincoln.
Luke, good on you, mate. I want to thank you very much for coming along here to this beautiful park here in Queanbeyan this afternoon and being a part of this episode of Classic Restos. It just goes to show these cars are around. The guys own them, obviously. They're hiding in sheds. When they come out and appear on the show, such as today, mate, that is sensational. So thank you once again.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Fletch. Thank you very much for the invite. I bought this car about 7 years ago, sight unseen, from Oklahoma. And at the time I wanted to bring in another American car, and this one was very competitively priced, and so we pulled the trigger and bought it and got it to the West Coast, and then it took about 2 or 3 months to come over. Look, I was surprised how good the car was in its originality. When I'm driving this motor car, I'm quite lucky. I feel that like we've been able to register this vehicle left-hand drive in Australia. Notwithstanding its size, it is an easy vehicle to drive and drive long distance. It's very efficient on fuel and very comfortable. And a lot of people say that they fall asleep in the back seat because it's that voluminous and that comfortable. So you know, and that's good. I've been very lucky. It's been very, very reliable. And as I mentioned, very efficient on fuel, notwithstanding the fact it's a 7-litre engine. People talk about it like just being a Sunday car. I've tried to drive this as much as I can, so like if we can do that, you know, that's a win for people in the classic car community.
Well, I hope you've really enjoyed this week's episode of Classic Restos, paying a tribute of respect to Summernats legend Chic Henry. Then there was Bill with his sensational Lincoln Continental, and rounding off with Luke with his Mercury Marquis. I hope you've really enjoyed the show. Until next week, no matter where you're watching Classic Restos from, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch, and I thank you very much for watching.
You can like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/ClassicRestosTV and watch catch-up episodes at shannons.com.au.
Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons Insurance, where you can be a member of the Shannons Club. Pace Farm, the enjoyable egg. Hare and Forbes Machinery House. And Gun Lake Quarries.